I'm Gavin Halebrown from Henley Halebrown. So tonight we've got Jay, who is a good friend of ours in the office. Jay's got something like 200 slides to get through, so please pace yourselves.
Get yourself a drink.
Or two. This is 20 years of work. Jay came here when he was 13, I think, so
Yeah.
he's been here a long time, built the practice, by happy accidents, started when he was 21 in the studio week.
Yeah, that's around.
Which is quite fun. We've done various collaborations together, none of which has really borne fruit yet. But through those we've experienced a lot of things with Jay and his houses which have got rivers under them or rivers through them, mad school buildings, monster potions. There's a lot to get through, so I'll give you Jay. Thank you.
There are some seats at the front. I know it's very scary, but you probably will need it.
Oh, I'm not scared.
Yeah. Come and sit. So, one of my colleagues, not of my colleagues here, I'm hoping, because I told them not to turn up because they hear from me every day, so they probably don't want to hear my voice. They remind me that next year is 20th year of company when we started as a partnership, and that sort of freaked me out. And then we looked at the project number. It was number 310, and we started a project 111. So one more project. This is all paid project, not the fabricated project. We will be project number 200. So 20 years, 200 project. I sound really old. Anyway. So I thought this is the first time I'm doing this talk. I've done a lot of talks, but normally I select about 5-6 projects and talk in details what happened, what fucked up, and all that. I can swear, right?
You can swear.
Okay. So I was putting the slides together. It is over 200 slides. It was quite therapeutic because I was going into the project folders that I have not been in for literally decades. And thank God to have a system in place that I can find stuff. It progressively gets better. I think it took about 50 projects to get ironed out, but mainly there. So yeah, I will go through fairly quickly. This is the projects showing you mainly photographs and what happened in my almost like personal life. Unfortunately, when you're working like this, and as you probably know, being architects is pretty shit. So you have to, your life, your work is sort of molding together. Your friends are architects and kind of stuff. So it was a bit traumatic of going through all this. But because I was an architect, and one thing I was really set on is not to do management. I really did not want to run a practice. And that was not the reason why I did architecture. I did architecture for a whole other reason. I will tell you at some point. But anyway, this is 140 boomerangs. Started at 2005. I just came back from Holland, ran out of money, got a job. I was 21. Yeah, 21. And there was this thing called September School, ran by a student group called Archaeos. I don't know whether they still exist. Still good friends of the founders of them. For London Architecture Biennale. And we were like, me and my partner Dan Maria, now Smith Mordak, who is a CEO of, actually, the half of this presentation, the 50% of my life is really dedicated with the life with her, really. Not anymore, but we started our company together, and a lot of this is indebted to Smith Mordak, who is now CEO of Green Building Council, I believe. Anyway, so we had a workshop, and we had some proposal. I meant to go back to Bath to finish my degree because I was a year out in Delft and came back, took a year out earning money, meant to go back to Bath and finish my degree. We've been chosen to deliver it if we can raise the fund for it. And we went back to Bath, got flat, and asked a school, can we do this as our degree project? And they said no, which is not surprising, and we're like, well, we will have to quit. So we quit university at that point. We met Robert Mull, I don't know, some of you may know, who was head of school at London Met, and he was just starting a unit called Free Unit. Free Unit was you can do whatever you want, but you may fail, kind of course. But which was great for us. So we took this project. We wasn't sure whether RIB would accept it or not, but we decided to do it. We might as well try it. We were going to do it anyway. So that was a year later. So it was materialized. Skipping, whole thing, lots of fundraising and different things. And the big thing was that all individual element, 140 parts of it, we got it all sponsored. Like material was sponsored, manufacturing was sponsored, engineering was sponsored. I mean, this was 2006, so before the financial collapse, so you spent money. So swirling around. I think everything costed around £18,000. The big part of that money actually came from City of London, because we presented that all of these can be disassembled and you can use it as furniture. So at that time we knew City of London was spending a lot of money hosting their festivals. So they were like, oh, okay, we'll give you £6,000 as a furniture budget that we were going to use anyway, so why don't you go ahead? So, and we donated some to schools who we had a lot of workshops with, and yeah, even from the first project, we had a lot of workshops. This was all written about Ola, who is the North Goddess, that is the sculpture in the middle, no one knew about. So it was all about this mythical creature and the children getting inspired and making stuff, and us hosting this big, gigantic, boomerang-shaped things in helical spiral. And that was what it was like in the summer. And you can see every single niche was filled with these little creatures. I don't think many people actually knew about the story behind it, but we had a lot of family visiting and seeing, what the hell is this? Very difficult to answer. Anyway, next, 113. So we had one project in between, which was very small. At this point, I freaked out because we were running as a partnership, and I read about what partnership means and what liabilities you have, and Studio Weave became a limited company. It was all about insurance reason. That we were using word woven quite a lot. You will see why we were using quite a lot of that word. And studioweave.com was available. There wasn't very deep reason. And when you write Studio Weave in lower cases, they're all compact and pretty. So Studio Weave, that was born. We met Jane Wernick, not Jane Wernick, Jane Wood, who run Heatherwick's Cafe, East Cafe. We just went down there, went a nice lunch, and she said, wouldn't it be great we just had some bench in this promenade? And us being students, and we're like, yeah, it could be a really, really long bench. That was the conversation. How long did the project actually run? 4 years. Okay. So this was my part 3 project, by the way, one of the case study. And we're like, yeah, okay, we can do some project. There was a very small amount of seed funding. There was a seed funding called a Sea Change, so we would be able to do some thinking and stuff while we are studying. So whole idea was very, very simple. We had a lot of little incidences in there, and so it's like a charm bracelet. Sorry, I'm not going to go into a very long explanation. It's what it is, what you see, diagram, literal, and we had, okay, these shelters, the force, moving, go crazy. I think I was quite drunk when I drew that. Yeah, and then modeling, detailing. This project was the first time we used grasshopper. So this is like 2008. Rhino, grasshopper was like this new thing. So it was great fun working with the AKT back then, not 2 yet, sorting all this out. We had a lot of drawings. I was just like, so to make this presentation, I had to go into all these folders, right? That means I always went in and looked at the tender drawings. What did we produce for tender drawings for things like this? so many drawings with the angles and dimensions and things, which in reality is very different. I learned a lot from this project. The reality and the paper space is quite different. Anyway, that got us a lot of publication. We were actually on page 4 of The Sun, which I was particularly proud of. And that was built after 4 years with a various funding attempt. Anita Roddick, I think I got her name right. She is a founder of Body Shop. The reason why I called this this talk, or whatever you call happy accident, is it really is happy accidents. It just, you meet people in random occasions, random times, and you just talk about your shit, and then they just go like, oh, that sounds a great idea, why not? So Body Shop initially put up the money because they are around there, they thought it was a good idea, the people can sit down, and then the government funding added. So it was delivered. Still a pretty crazy project. Yes. And Rowan Moore, who's the architectural critic, he picked us up with Assemble. So Assemble and us were kind of like a twin-tracked company. Obviously they've got kind of prizes and all that, but you know, started at a similar time. And then next, so Peter Sharp. So we were then still students. Now we finished our degrees and going through our diploma, and we're like, oh, maybe we should send some applications. And Peter just commissioned and delivered Ajay's pavilion at the top of the field. The Kilda is the reservoir, big reservoir. It didn't materialize the water requirements and lots of art projects. And we were there and just looking at this landscape, and we wrote a fanciful story about the Freya and Robin who love each other but can't get to one another. Again, I'm going to skip a lot of details. And then we had a whole book. So this is the first time I used a CNC tessellating. So everything got together, we made everything in Brighton, shipped over all the way to there. Millimeter. If you guys know, Millimeter is probably one of the top tier art fabricators in the country. We were one of their first projects when they were just directors. So you meet people in a weird places. And then it was delivered. Nice thing. Yes. Tim Lucas, who is now partner at Price and Myers, that was what I was discussing. That structure, this is actually structure, what it is. Those are structure. And he was like, oh, so what is your structural grid like? And I sent him little sheets with sesame seeds sprinkled on, because that was the best random effect I would get. So we did a lot of crazy stuff. Things becoming more regular, things are becoming bigger. But St. Pancras Church Garden. So we won this as a competition. This is actually the first competition I think we won for City of London, and this site has been empty since 1666. Great fire, church burnt down. They couldn't do anything because you can't do anything because only top 200 you can touch it, 200 mil, and you can't do anything. And we're like, oh, we'll just build something floating with a City and Guild College carving. So a lot of carving, a lot of student work, and then there we go. That was built. So this was our first landscape scheme. So Studio Weave do art, public art, which is not art. Public art, landscape, horticulture, and architecture, and sometimes master plan-ish things. So this was one of our first landscape projects. Not quite, you know, when Margaret Thatcher is getting oiled in Fulton. Anyway, and then this is another competition. We won to convert a boat. So they wanted to reach people during the Olympic, and we had an idea with the our project that okay, we can just, there's lots of places that are connected by canal, so we can get a canal, convert it, and have cinema in it. We were working with an artist who was making films about the people around the canal and a neighbouring borough. So we converted the boat. And you can do that. I think that was UK's first Fantastic Mr. Fox screening in front of 3 mils. I remember sitting down and talking to MEP engineer, how can we run a feature film out of leisure batteries? We got it working, 12 parallel connected, anyway, details like that, we're not talking about it. Lullaby Factory, this was another competition. This was actually probably first a pure art commission that we did. The Great Ormond Street Hospital, they're going through big renewal, and they built a new building. The old building's only about 1.5 meters away, and all the kids' warden, just like the sick beds, are literally looking at this building covered with shit, and they call artists to sort out the problem. I mean, I'm not an artist. I will never call myself as an artist, but we solve problems. So we saw it as a problem, and then you have a lot of MEP like pipes and stuff. Let's not get rid of it because we don't know which one's what. So Lullaby Factory, use all of them. So this was our concept drawing, which was built. Looking back now, it's really, really crazy. I mean, I looked at the drawings and we literally made 3D models, angles and everything, and they were literally built like that. Yeah, we actually, the works with a composer, and then Lullaby is on, in the loop. They commission every 2-3 years, I think, to add it to the loop. So that is 24/7 Lullaby playing in the internal radio station. And because of rolling commission, we went back. So what was the project number? 132, finished at 2012. It came back 211, 2017. So we made an interactive xylophone amplifier when we went back. So I think we don't really get many repeat clients because they're local authorities and you win through competition and they're not commercial. So very rare occasion of repeat client. Salt Frontier, so this was a funny one. There was a shop called Hoxton Street Monster Supplies. I don't know whether it still exists. I don't know. Does it still exist?
Yeah.
So I met Lucy, who was running this shop, and she was like, do you have any good idea for what Monsters was like? And we're like, salt. I like salt. I like cooking. Tears are salty. We can make salts out of tear. And they were selling this kind of stuff, fang floss, right? And old-fashioned brain jam. And these are just repackaged at the ordinary stuff. And we're like, yeah, they sell anything. We can sell some salt at extortionate amount. So we gave them that. And how to harvest human tears and to make it salt. Still bestsellers. It was on. So when that was advertised on Daily Mail, the comments were hilarious, absolutely hilarious. The one thing I still remember is like, oh my god, the human tears, you will get AIDS. Oh my god. Anyway, so funny. The Halebrown, the Welsh salt producers worked with us. We went through so this is the fun bit of the job. This really fun bit of the job. I love ironmongery schedule, and I love toilet layouts. However, when you can actually talk to the manufacturer of these and saying, oh, can you make a really spicy one? Can you make a really, really dark one? Great fun, great fun. Anyway, Ecology of Colour. So, this was our first building which we needed to get a planning permission. The client actually came to us to look for a bench project, but they had quite a lot of money for bench. I can't remember exactly what that was exactly. And we're like, why do you want a bench? And they're like, oh, there's antisocial issues in this little peninsula. Bench is not going to quite solve that problem. So we done the workshop with the locals, and we made the active space so they can come and use it. The one of the thing was there was a dyeing club and there was a knitting club. So we put them together. So the garden was about growing plants that yield a dye, and dyeing club would do that, and then the knitting club would use the fabric, and that was the result. Still not quite planted yet. And photograph from here onwards generally would be better because we started working with a professional photographer. It is really funny because we weren't qualified architects, so this wasn't technically, we were calling it building, it's just a shed. And it was on the cover of a New York magazine. That was bonkers. A friend of mine sent it to me, a billboard in New York, in Broadway, and your thing is that I have no idea how they got that, but it was there. Anyway, a lot of workshops again, the local groups coming together to deliver this project because it was a public project. It wasn't an architectural project in what it's trying to do, but its purpose was trying to bring people together. Lots of photographs I remember in a Flickr. Back then, Flickr. Oh my god. Palace upon Pillar. So this wasn't a competition. We got a phone call from a City of London, and I think it was I can't remember what group that was. Anyway, we literally were asked to produce a proposal for that location for 2012 opening within like 3 days. So over the weekend, I made a model, and it was literally built as per model. So I over-engineered it. Our engineer structure workshop, Peter, thankfully was like, Jay, we don't need that. We don't need that. He actually reduced it. It actually got built very quickly. Very funny story. That junction have a 16 optical cable cutting through, so no one would touch that ground. So we got the term contractor without contract to hand dig the site between 2 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we had to go and measure the volume, make sure it's big enough it can take the mass concrete to hold the building together. No contractor will touch it. So Leadenhall building by Rogers was getting built at the same time. So somehow our contact in via ether will persuade that concrete contractor to splurge few concrete on their way in. The whole thing was just so weird. No contract was signed, things just happened within 6 months because something had to be done. So during that time, we were doing a lot of installations, conversions, small projects, and working with the theatre companies, other installations. We got hang building small things. We still do have a lot of contacts with makers because we've done so many small theatre work, the artwork back then. This project 157, this is one project almost killed Studio Eve. We got so negative at the time for 3 years of so much work that didn't pay us well. We were their art consultants for the council, so we worked with over 30 artists, commissioning them, vetting them, working through all the artwork they were doing. We worked with over 24 something shop owners, working through their merchandise, how they're presented, and their shop fronts. And so many events that we put on. I really don't know why we did it. I really don't know why we did it. It was very fulfilling at the time, but I remember just looking at balance sheet and it's not going well. But we still survived, just about. But it's just like, we have a lot of photographs of people in our slides because most of our job was really about people and the architecture was a result of it. And this project was the biggest one. We were literally doing what council and local community would have done if it was established. You know, that's our client. So we had a lot of hair salons, so we convinced them to get an all haircut, and we had a parade, and that was the reason behind it. That was the reason behind it. The guy with the red hair, he was our client. I wonder what he's doing now. Maiden Studio, now it's 161. My last slide will show the 310. So we're halfway through. Hang in there. Maiden Studio, our first building, did not require planning. It was community development, and this artist studio had to last, I don't know, it's like 50 plus years, so it's covered in zinc shingles over the river, the first one. And during that time, I just became qualified architect. How long have I been talking? Probably about 20 to 20 minutes. Just became qualified architect, and I was thinking, maybe we should do some buildings. And we were doing this kind of stuff, like planning applications and some interiors and some facade designs. None of these materialized, and it takes long time. Architecture seems to be really long game. I mean, I'm 41 now, and I'm still toddler, right, Gavin? Yeah.
You've got hair.
Well, this I hope lasts for longer. Safe deposit. I mean, with now our buildings, our projects were getting closer, and we're getting commissioned by people commissioned buildings. So relationship is slowly build up. People understand that we're architects, so we can deal with some complex situations. So this was for Crown Estate. This was an art project, but they wanted us to do something architectural. So we designed basically a cabinet of curiosity that it can be changed, and it's an ongoing exhibition of local art. I say local artists, the Haymarket artists and local shops. From then on, I mean, this I think is like the first project really we were able to gain quite higher end of the craftsmanship, which was quite exciting. The things that you can do, things you can learn in terms of material. Belvoir School, this is a fully blown first building. So, Sheila, headmistress, I met her in our office because her partner saw me giving a talk in Bristol at some point, and she sent me a drawing of 3 porter cabins dotted around in the woodlands, and that was the classrooms design that she was given by the council, and she asked me, can we do better? And with something like £200,000. I think probably we can. Well, I wasn't quite sure. How many years did we work on that project? 5 years. Whew. Yeah, took a long time, eh? But this was again the project that started very slowly. Oh, page 96, we're doing well. And this was first ever building. Everything is removable because it was built on Greenbelt, so we had to convince the planners that everything can disappear. So they're on the tiny little piles. It's built very much like North American home. Stupidly low budget. The curved roof was total accident because the Tesco just finished a really massive warehouse in Essex, and the timber fabricators had the former. So normally when you do the curved stuff, making formwork and jigs are expensive. And then other than that, it's only like 15-20% to add on the glue lamp. And they were like, yeah, we have a jig. If you can use that, we'll charge you a little. I mean, emotional bombardment. So we're like, we'd redesign the school for that jig. You take opportunity and run with it. Right? So these kids were, back then, how old were they? 8 years ago. So they're now adults. I wonder what they think of it. Got to know them pretty well. We are now actually back to that school doing the work for the school improvement at the moment. Raynham Hall, this is our first historic building. We sort of worked with Julian Harrop. We were doing the exhibition design, funnily enough, but ended up doing quite a lot of interior design because we didn't want the things to disappear and go back to a particular moment of history. So we used everything that was in there. Modification has been done by other people of the history of the building. With like serving coffees to local people. All the collections are fake. We fabricated a collection because they didn't have a collection, and we didn't lose anything. So that is the bathroom, as you can see, with telling the story of how the house get built. So this project sort of set us in a what we would do if we're dealing with a historic building. Rather, don't erase everything, just touch lightly and make sure the building functions properly. Meanwhile, we had a really big project. I can't show the old stuff. This was 7 stories tall, 260 the flats, social housing on King's Road. We're working for 4 years. During that time, Grenfell happened. And that was a day before our pre-app meeting, and the whole project just went. Anyway, it was an exciting project. Some crazy bits, as we do normally. Anyway, still do pavilions and small projects in front of American Embassy. God bless America. And during that time, we were doing a lot more studies. So like, with our colleagues, written a book about social housing because I was so frustrated why in London we have such a monotonous way of living. You have to have a flat, you have to have your house, and you have to, it's just like everything just rolling on. This nuclear family thing, the rhetoric, so we wrote a book about it. We designed a choose your own adventure, how to paint estate, because Hackney was going through renewal. We done quite a significant amount for the planning documents, frameworks, yeah, guide for TFL and stuff. No, I mean, seriously, it's completely the other end of the project, because we were doing small projects, receiving end of all this strategic document. We were like, don't write certain things in strategic document because it end up really bad. So at that point, we were climbing up the stream and we're able to actually, you should do this and you should do that. We do less and less of it these days. I think that's a good thing though. Made of sense. So this 3 project I will show you now is completely changed the perception of Studio Weave to people. These are 3 buildings, all mostly developed during the pandemic and delivered during the pandemic. Made of sand, this is a small, no, actually not that small extension, it's as big as where I live. 80 square meters extension to a little cottage. The cottage was 110 square meters. So we've practically doubled the size by wrapping it around of the building. So this was sort of my hobby project, I guess, on the side, because it was a residential projects and it was a pandemic and I was the only one who's dealing with a client, and me and Esther just like going about it, and because of the limitation of material and who can talk to. If in the rural Devon, there's only 1 or 2 contractors you have to work with. Otherwise, you get fucked. So you choose your place and you lie in it and you go with it. But our contractor was great. He was a cop builder who was doing a lot of stonework, but I had to convince him to do some timber work. So he brought his 2 friends. We had a great time building it, and very unexpectedly, it got shortlisted for the House of the Year, RIBA House of the Year. I think this was the first RIBA award, I think. Anyway, totally unexpected because it's extension. House of the Year award generally do all the one-off houses, so it was yeah, we were in the magazines that we wouldn't have been, basically. Yeah. still very, very good friends of mine. We became friends, and then now I'm doing the second project for them on the same place. Yeah. Funny one. Next, this is actually in South Korea. I'm South Korean, Asian, as you can see. I came here when I was 13. My brother was here for a while. Now he lives in Hong Kong. He is like, I can't stay at parents anymore when I go back. I want to just find a plot. In Korea, building your own house is not very unusual. Yeah. And I was talking to my brother. I thought, well, okay, but you should build a house. Why not? Just not thinking that I should be working with a family is terrible. I really would not recommend it. So I did this project only on one condition. I will ask you the questions when I need to ask you questions. And beyond that, let's not talk about the project. Anyway, after and pandemic happened, and I was, the site visiting. I've been to site once, but I grew up in this landscape, so I knew quite well. But it was the first time, new legal framework, new set of contractors, and all that, new way of working. During the pandemic, on the phone call, 8 hours different. Nightmare, absolute nightmare. I actually designed this building to be timber building. But I got told off by a structural engineer that it's an earthquake zone, so it became concrete building. So I thought, okay, if we're going to use the concrete, I'm not going to hide anything. So the exterior is concrete as well. The second time I was on site, I went to the pavement making company, and I asked them what's the biggest mold for the pavement, and that is what it is. So we just literally filled in tiny little formwork in there. And all the tiles were made in the pavement company. I think this is probably the most serious project I've done. I mean, look at it. Slap in the face. Because it has to be very, very simple, it's just concrete frame, everything infilled is timber infill, like everything is furniture. Just slotted in where it's needed to be. I used the Laowan ply, which is very ubiquitous in the 70s in Korea. My mom was absolutely terrified because of, like, why are you using that cheap material? But I thought, no, I can. Anyway, making your mom shut up is much more difficult than making your brother shut up. Anyway, it was delivered, and that's luckily I get to stay there. That would have costed a lot of money in UK. In Korea, because we're so little number of a trade, that was around 750,000, which was, I was like, oh, okay, that was doable. There we go. Serious building. Yeah, too much, isn't it? Leibridge Library, we won this through competition. It was GLA held a competition, library that, and you can see beautiful extension on the right that happened in 90s, and they were like, what can we do with our garden now? I really did not want to make things complicated, so they said it's going to be just a lean-to orangery going straight down. They have so many mature trees, and you don't want to cut down the trees. So only way to avoid the trees, by that time we were getting really, really used to below ground constraints. Every single site we worked on, something below ground, big stuff like bunkers and this like gas mains and things, because we work in public realm. Buildings are not built there, so everything else gets shoved in there. It's like high-speed sewers. It's just like, anyway, so me saying I don't want to have a problem with a tree root, very, very simple form. We won that competition, but you know what? When we started digging, we found a bunker. Yeah, anyway, this was great fun because I was able to convince the client that we can use a timber that's coming out from London's parks and streets. So they all dumped them in Hertfordshire. And it just all became just mulch. And now they have a fallen company actually set up, you can buy furniture grade timber that coming out from London trees. So we all contribute something to the society. I think that was pretty good. But convincing clients was really, really difficult, because if you build a building in this country for public client, every single material have to have some kind of tag to it. And timber had to have FSC certification. And timber coming from London's Park does not have FSC certification, because no one cares where it's come from, because it just came from there. So I had to make a presentation in the cabinet and say why they should allow us to bypass their own legislation. That was really, really weird there. Now this place is filled with babies and prams. Waltham Forest, spawning ground. A lot of little clever stuff in here, but I'm not going to go into the details because we still have 60 more slides to go, and you're probably dying inside. So this project, the curvature of that window wasn't there at the beginning, but because we found something below ground, we had to put that curvature in, because our root structure, root protection zone no longer worked. So I had to call like 7 different companies, mostly Portuguese and Spanish, find out their maximum manufacturing capacity for the curvature and the size and deliverability, so we can put within the budget. Anyway, that's great fun. But those are the accidents. I mean, I can give you a very polished version and saying, oh, we designed it right from the beginning, of course. But no, it was going to be strong. A lot of projects have happy accidents. And we got, oh yeah, that was what it was like when it was finished. And we didn't know what was going to happen, because we designed a garden as well. And they didn't have money. And thankfully, after seeing the building, they decided to put money in it. It's quite funny. Building is a funny thing. There's a physical thing just standing there. Suddenly can convince people to put some more money in it. Weird effect. Fanciful circus, yes, competition. Now we're talking about ongoing project, where we are now. So 2020, so we went through 15 years of Studio Weave. We started with a very small arty-ish project here and there, some landscape. And now we have a few building projects that we're doing. We're now 10 of us in our office, I think. No, 9 of us. No, 10 of, no, 9 of us. 9 of us. And I think this was probably one of the first major competition, I guess, in a building term. We don't like competitions. Really, really don't like competitions. I was talking to Gabe and Simon about it. It's just like, I don't want to compete with the best people in the industry. We have shit going on everywhere. I have no idea why we need to compete with the other best architects. We should just go out and get a job out of other not that great things. Because, I mean, you just look outside and 90% of stuff is not that great, right? But why do we need to end up competing with literally the people I don't want to compete with? Anyway, this was one of those projects, and luckily we won. It's on site at the moment. We don't know whether the pavilion itself will happen or not, but that tiny little thing over there is currently being built. It's a nightmare because we have Royal Mail tunnel going through, Crossrail going through, so the top on the top of Metropolitan line we have 500 mil soil. Literally, so it's doing all sort of gymnastics, the entire landscape, and finding the place to plant things has been very, very challenging. But the planting scheme is working through really well. Bank Junction 2020, actually that's wrong, because I was involved in 2017 or 18. If you cycle through Bank Junction,
yeah,
fucking
annoying.
I know. At the moment, sorry. It'll get better. This was one of the worst below ground constraints I ever seen, and the stakeholder group includes so many people I'm not allowed to talk about. Anyway, And we're doing that. I mean, it's not really an architecture fancy project, but I think this project probably would be one of the projects that I would be quite proud of. It was really, really bad. 70% road, 30% pedestrian. I mean, fucking bonkers, right? I mean, it's so shit. And it took them until like 2010 to think like, oh, we need to work this out. And years and years of working through what is possible, how much little bit of line we can shift, stakeholder group conversation, benefit studies, and all kind of stuff. I mean, I can really, really geek out on this because that's what made our city. And we were able to really, really bring down. So private cars now only 25% from 70%, and all the rest of it is the public transport, and massively increased pedestrian-only zone. Because this was so difficult, and I am so sorry it's still dug up, but at some point it'll get there. Jubilee Gardens, we still work with the City of London quite a lot. We are converting all of their quite unloved places into gardens, because I like plants. There are other reasons too, but you know, everyone knows why we do it. This is actually built on the top of a massive UKPN substation. So UKPN has minimum 3 months response period, which is great when you're trying to communicate. But yeah, it's on site. If you're cycling through, have a look. Last weekend we planted trees. Graham Park. Yeah, this is a community building we're doing in northwest London. Hopefully that'll get tendered out at some point. Woolwich, this is on site. Toilet and community cafe and the landscape around it. Our first brick project. It's difficult to say no when planners say, you have to use brick. We're not going to give you. First brick project. I mean, you find these kind of stuff on site. That's the like beautiful Victorian tiles. You know what you do when you find that kind of stuff? Bury it. As quick as possible. And we still do some private stuff. This is a pool house, interestingly. Just got planning, and we did Chelsea Flower Show last year. That's king. He was king. Still is king. And that's me. King. Me. He was a lot shorter than I am. Weird structure, water collecting, stuff. Nightmare. Why did we do it? Nightmare. Fun, but nightmare. Anyway, that was not 1.2 millimeter thick Corten, stitch welded together. And then rebar at the back. I mean, structural stuff for that project is a bit crazy. It's just one of those that are you seeing fabrication happening. It's like, fuck, is that gonna stand up? Because everything is a bit wangy. And this had to come in 8 different sections. So there's on-site weld, and that's one of the reasons why it's called 10. On-site weld, you can't finish it, therefore use a natural material. And while they are stitching them together, whole thing just go ping, ping. Great fun to watch. Happy PI. Lewisham Market, another big project. We are going out of tender. Big project, I think it's a 74-meter long galvanized steel structure, very lightweight stone columns. So learning from making small structure to big structure, I found it very transferable. You can repeat a lot of stuff. Everything is designed to size of lorry can be delivered to that site. Everything is prefabricated, plonk, 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 plonk. Hands up. Oh, and you know what? We found a bunker underneath the back. No, seriously. Literally, we found a massive bunker that can house like 200 people in there. So today, we've been sorting out where the clashes are. Bunkers love us. I'm definitely I told clients already, going to push for having a nightclub there. 150 person below ground market structure. It'll be amazing for the rave bar. This is the biggest project we currently have. The Vestry House Museum. We're converting. We're extending, refurbishing, converting. Settle buildings. I think the internal square meter is something like 800 square meters. I may be wrong. We have 17th century building, 18th century building, 19th century building, 20th century building, and obviously the 20th century building is the shittest. So we're demolishing that part and rebuilding. It's great fun actually working with a building of this age, although it's a nightmare. And this we got planning a month and a half ago. Chris, thank you. And we just about to go out on tender. Yeah, that's the collection of buildings, and that's what's happening. Anyway, apparently I'm quite good at doing farms, so we have a few farm projects in our office. This is a farm in Devon. They want to do a vegan meat using leftover bits from the cider production. So I'm working with them, doing landscape master plan, where all the stuff will go, and slowly honing into refurbishing buildings because the buildings are literally falling apart. I'm looking forward to seeing structural engineers' report on this one. And another refurbishment project up in Birmingham. We're converting Victorian horse stable, 2-story stable, into artist hotel and live work unit and black box theatre. There we go. Quite a big project. There we go. Done.
There must be questions. At the front?
I'll go. So you've done lots of different projects, and you're quite excited about like the different types of projects that you've done.
I'm not.
You seem to be quite. Like, there's some that you're annoyed about with bits and bobs here and there. What sort of thing would you want to be doing going forward, if you could choose? Constraints removed.
Jobs that pays. I mean, a lot of people don't believe me when I say that. Is my passion to architecture is as same as my passion to anything else that I would do, right? And architecture happened to be that something pays for me to survive in otherwise. So my biggest goal is to my colleagues, so I can pay them every month. And when shit hits the fan, I have enough cash in the company, so they don't have to go redundant. That means you need to have a certain scale, and that means you have a certain kudos of certain bits, so we get the job. So something that comes before what kind of project I want to do is because of the practicality. I don't play golf. I don't do other networking we're just talking about. So if people want to work with Studio Weave, just looking at our portfolio, they really have to work with Studio Weave. There's no other reason to come to us. That make us quite narrow band of selection criteria, but at the same time, if it works, hopefully, maybe not, if it works, that might give us a little bit better stability. Is that answer your question? I don't know.
It's an interesting answer.
Sort of. Because it's not the typology.
Mm.
I mean, I am interested in a lot of stuff, but I can say I have a certain more knowledge on a certain area than other areas. And when someone asks, can you do that? I always say I probably can learn something and to do it, but do you want to work with us with our sensibility? For me, is we live in this world 80 to 90 years if we're lucky. I want to be working with the people who I want to work with. If that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Jack? You were talking about the school project and you said, oh, this thing took 5 years. And I was like, how amazing would it be if you could do a project from start to finish in 5 years? Thinking that sounded pretty speedy to me.
Yeah, when your project budget is 214,000, yeah, you can.
But I was wondering, I guess, as you guys have scaled up, whether you feel you've lost the kind of immediacy of a project from its kind of conception to its realisation that was very evident in the early projects, and inevitably as you scale up that kind of expands.
But you
How do
always
feel
have
about
small goals, right, that you achieve, you know. But I guess we try to have smaller projects in our office. And I mean, there are a bunch of stuff you see in the project number suddenly jumping, right? We have quite a lot of small projects ongoing in projects, so my colleagues can have that experience as well. So we have immediacy, which is actually a nightmare. If you want to operate an efficient office, you want to have continuous bigger projects, and people can just work on one project for a while so they can use it. Not in our office. Everyone's working on like 3 projects and a minimum. Everyone's running around like headless chicken, but fun.
do you feel like you work quite quickly because of those origins?
No, we procrastinate like hell. And I hate it. I really, really hate it. But we do. So, and I can't tell my client to stop thinking, and my colleagues. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really, really annoying. But you know.
It's because the presentation was delivered at such speed, and there's like the project seemed to happen so quickly, but then it's also really clear that there's a kind of patient, kind of thoughtful process that underpins it all. I'm kind of interested in that sort of duality in a way.
Today I wasn't going for that at all. Today I was literally going for like image diarrhea. Because I mean I was surprised. It's like how many crap we had to go through, really. And I had to edit it really hard. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's just like I always tell my colleagues. I mean, because everyone works slightly differently. I never been able to generate idea of a project while I'm in front of CAD, right? I do the testing, but mainly like so I don't work after 6:30 unless I'm doing accounting. So I do admin after 6:30, but I don't do architectural work before after 6:30, and I don't start until 9, because I need mindless things to just swirl my mind, and then they kind of like sift things out. It seems like for me, and if my colleagues say I have to be sitting down there and squeeze out the idea looking at references and other things, I probably will say that colleagues are, I know of a really good place you can work for. I actually recommend the people a lot to other practices, because we work in such a weird way, not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay too. That doesn't mean you're bad or we're bad. You know, we're all different. So.
Anyone else?
Just a sort of comment on that. I was thinking, I'm seeing a lot of actually very clever, rational thinking underpinning a lot of these things that you rattled through, you know, and made light of. But so I mean, and I think the cleverness of working with constraints, you know, is a kind of real takeaway from all your work. So going right back to the beginning, you started an architecture course and you gave up pretty quickly, went straight into kind of making and doing. So did you always think you would, when you started, do you think you would stick the course through, you know, or was it just, I'll try
no,
this?
I had to.
You did?
I had to. There was no other way of doing it. The reason why I chose an architecture was bound by the length of the course.
Okay. But you gave up on Bath.
I didn't quite, well, I did give up on it, but I had somewhere to go,
Yeah.
shall we say. But I had
You were jumping another
yeah,
passing ship.
I was jumping to another relationship pretty quickly. But it was pretty tricky because if I didn't do that, it wasn't going to happen, and military service in South Korea was a pretty on the knife edge.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
Yes, yes.
Hi, yeah. So, you know, like, going on from that, in your early stages before you, like, became an actual chartered architect, for your, like, kind of unofficial projects, like the treehouse, for example, how did you, like, get discovered, or, like, how did people actually find you or, like, find out about your work to get working on it, I guess?
Oh no, all of them are competitions.
Oh, they all
Yeah.
competition.
I mean, we had no contact,
Yeah.
knew no one. It's just,
No golf.
yeah, just, well,
No golf.
no golf. No golf, no cycling to come.
You can tell he's got the gift of the gab, though. Come on. That's the, you know, it's
No, it's
chatting your clients up.
It just like, you know, when you, well, I was students doing that, so it's either I was doing a lot of work for other companies as well. So I was one of the early member of Camel Group, for example. We've done a lot of competition, we won a lot of competition. And I was doing a lot of like drawings for other architects. I was invited to the competitions with them and things, you know, I had to earn money through the university, and one of the way of earning money was if there's a call out, we made something up and we sent it. So like Peter Sharp, I remember that Fred and Robin, he coming down to meet us in our studio, and our studio was in our not even one bed, studio flat in Dalston. And he came in, and I was like, we're probably not going to get this job, but he gave it to us. So, but it's just like, you know, not really thinking about it very much, and you know, just put it out there and then see what happens. But don't be dick about it, really. If that makes sense.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
When you started Studio Leave at 21 or something, is it exactly how you envisioned it to be today, or did you have a completely different vision? And how different is it? Or what was the aim?
I don't know how to respond to
What's
that
the next
question.
called?
Yeah, happy accident. I mean,
But did you just trust the process?
oh no, I don't trust anything. I mean, look. I had a goal to achieve by doing architecture, which was not architecture. Okay, and somehow, and I had no plan to live in this country. I had no plan to live in London. Yeah, that sounds like that I have no plans, but no, it's just navigating through stuff. You know, it's just like I've never been really dogmatic about it. If I can't do this, I will do that. So I was always flexible enough to move around it, but yeah, what was I thinking? I mean, I remember thinking that if we start this and if we try to keep doing this, 10 years of my life will be really, really shit. But it ended up as like 18 years of your life in a very shit. That was unaccounted for. But yeah, beyond that, I didn't really have much thought.
What was it going to be if it wasn't architecture?
Oh, I would be a great accountant. I'm serious, why are you laughing? And I would have earned a lot of money. I would be working with like places like Ernest Young or something. Very, very intelligent about textiles. Requires a lot of creativity.
This is being recorded, Jim.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I really like mathematics. I wanted to do that at university, but I chose not to do it because there was other reasons. Courses are too short. I had two courses, either do medicine and become a doctor, or do medicine and stay in university, or do architecture. So I did architecture. I don't like flesh and blood.
Yeah, we don't have that problem. How different was it building your brother's house to building things here?
Oh, completely different. I mean, and also because it was built during the pandemic, so everything was a lot harder, but a lot easier. Getting the planning, you get rules, read the mathematic formula. I'm like, oh my god, I don't need to speak to anyone about how it looks like. It was like Tetris. Love Tetris. And we're like 0.2 square meter, a cubic meter margin of everything, maximizing every single corner. And then the local architect told me, yeah, give a little bit more relaxedness, because otherwise they will really start looking into it. But yeah, it's more straightforward. But when it got to the build of it, I think we really scared the shit out of them, because for that project we had probably about 80 A1 drawings. Because I mean, we draw everything, every corner, every rebar, how it works. Structural engineer we worked with in Korea, they loved us and hated us. We're great, a local architect, became a great friend. But yeah, but they were more, once we started building, things were a lot more straightforward. There was no Englishness of hiding things.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no innuendos, no things. We got the report exactly what it is. It's taking longer. You're going to pay more. It's shorter. You're going to pay less. You know, it was pretty clear cut, which was great.
Anything else? No? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.